With the continuation of protests in LA and the ramping up of protests all over the country, Trump is planning or has already given the order to deploy troops, both National Guard and even active duty Marines, to LA, Chicago, Houston, and other places around the country. And one of the things that stood out to me is that Trump made it clear that he is deploying these troops to Democratic-led cities, sending a clear political message, but also helping serve to us as a reminder of how we got here that no one seems to be discussing. See, although I live in the moment, I am not what you would call a prisoner of the moment. I like to discuss all issues, past and present, within their proper context. And the reason I say that the cities that he chose stuck out to me is because it reminded me how we got here, and that the Democratic Party set the stage for this bullshit that Donald Trump is pulling. Now, a lot of you who decided to not vote either red nor blue this past election have probably seen a lot of people in your comments talking about how, well, you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, and so this is your fault. No. Let's talk about it. You see, right now, Trump is using the justification of insurrectionist behavior as motivation to send American troops, to deploy American troops on American soil. But you know what's interesting about that? The only time in my lifetime that I have ever heard politicians using the word insurrectionist or the phrase insurrectionist behavior to target their own was on and after January 6th. And I and others said time and time again, you don't have to support the motivations behind what took place on January 6th. You don't even have to support all the behavior that took place. But we know 100% for certain that that was not an insurrection, and that rhetoric was being purposely used and manipulated for political motivations. And if we allowed it to continue, it would come back to bite us in the ass. I was very clear. Biden is probably not going to win again, and even so, Democrats aren't going to be in office forever. And also, Trump is a vengeful, spiteful motherfucker, and it was very likely he was going to win. So when it's time for him to get his get back, what did y'all think was going to happen? So what happened after January 6th? Democrats went on a political crusade, using the word insurrectionist to justify every single constitutional right that they violated in order to politicize what happened that day. And what's happening right now? Donald Trump and his administration are using the word insurrectionist to be purposely inflammatory to justify violating people's rights for political gain. And so now the very people who cheered on this insurrectionist narrative brought on by the Democrats are those complaining when Trump is doing the exact same thing to them. The Democratic cities that are ran by Democrats are now suffering and will suffer at the hands of the man who they use this exact same rhetoric to persecute. Even though we all know it wasn't really an insurrection. Just like in LA, it isn't really an insurrection. So what's the lesson here? No, it isn't that you should have voted Democrat. The lesson is that you need to stop letting your side manipulate narratives and be purposely inflammatory just because you don't like the other side. Because your side will not always be in power, and I don't know how many times we have to have this conversation. And you MAGA dumbasses who are cheering on this type of behavior, check yourselves, because we said then during the George Floyd protests, you keep letting Trump get away with calling everybody who protests against him a domestic terrorist, and it's gonna come back to bite you in the ass. And on January 6th, it did. And just that quick, because you got a little bit of power back, you forgot. The Republicans are not your allies. They're your enemies. The Democrats are not your allies. They are your enemies. They will continue to use the precedent set by the previous party to justify fascism every single time. So stop falling for it, because y'all fall for it every single time.